All right, moving on. The last one, or excuse me, not the last one. This was the last one. Regarding tag silos in the training that Bradley taught in the MGYB process training, which is helpful for building out location or city tags. Is a tag silo a modified simple silo, and therefore you still use WordPress categories? And do you still read? No. If you go back through and watch it again, and again, I can cover this a lot more in depth if you were to come join the mastermind. I'm happy to. I've talked about it a lot in there, and I can go through it again. But you're using tags. So remember, tags is a taxonomy, but it's not a category, right? So it's not the same. It can produce similar things in WordPress, and you can structure it similarly, but it's not quite the same because a tag is a tag, right? So like a tag, when you assign a tag to a post or a page, if you have a plugin that will allow you to do that, then however many posts share that tag, then that tag archive page is like it's like a category index page, right? It's an archives page, whether it's a category archive or a tag archive page. It's basically an index page that will show all of the posts that share that same tag. So as long as you understand that, then you can use tags to create a silo, right? It's kind of it's still a silo, but it's not in the traditional sense because it's not a category and a post structure. It's using tags. And so again, I talk about how you can do that. Really, the only time that that's necessary is if you are doing for like a service area business. That's why I started using that kind of a structure. And you can overcomplicate it really quickly, by the way. So you want to keep it as simple as possible. But what I'm saying is, like, if you have, topical silos or service-based silos, but then you also want to have location-based silos. So it's like, which comes first, the chicken or the egg, right? So which should be your top level? Should it be service-based silos, and then you have subcategories as location silos? So you would be duplicating subcategories across multiple top-level service silos, right? If you got location 1 and location 2, and you've got two main services, then how do you duplicate location 1 and location 2 as subcategories of service 1? And then duplicate those location 1 and location 2 as a subcategory of location 2. Does that make sense? It creates some it causes conflict with URL structures, and essentially like the URLs within WordPress. WordPress will just automatically do some funky things to your URLs. Now, especially if you're using physical silo structure, which is permalinks, the category / post name permalink structure. If you just stick with virtual silo, which is just post name permalinks in WordPress, then you can get by with still duplicating like subcategories across multiple top level categories. And it will create some funky category URLs if you were to look at the full category URL, but to the end user, all they're going to see is domain.com / post slug. So it reconciles a lot of those potential funky URL issues that occur with WordPress. So the way to overcome that was to just keep it simple and do service-based silos, period, as far as traditional silo architecture, right? And then I was always using tags to create location-based silos. And you can do it at the hierarchy. Like, for example, if you want to, let's just say, like, for a tree service business, then all they do is they serve one county, but that one county has 5 municipalities or locations, towns, census designated places, perhaps city, whatever. So there's different locations within that general county. Then you could have on each service-based post, right? So each post, now how do you add location relevancy? Well, you could add the county as a top level location tag, and then perhaps the city name as a tag, right? Let's say you got 3 main services for your company or the business that you're optimizing for. And you have 1 county and 5 sublocations within that county. Then essentially you could have that, service plus county name as a tag, as a top level location tag for that particular, service-based post within that service number 1 silo. That makes sense, right? So then you could have service plus city name for each individual location name if you wanted to get that granular. So, and if you wanted to make it just location-based silos without having any sort of service relationship to those location-based silos, you would just omit service plus location name and just do location. Then what happens is you would have, like, for example, if you just had a county tag, then if somebody were to go, or if you were to go to that tag archive for that county name, so, let's say Culpeper County, for example, that's where I live, then all of the posts from all services for the entire that have been assigned to that county tag would all show up in there. And there's certainly benefit to doing that. Like I said, keeping the silo structure as simple as possible is what I found to be the most effective, honestly. If you start trying to overcomplicate the silo structure, you can very quickly destroy your internal linking power, like how you direct internal link flow throughout your site. And I've got a case study that I had started as a project, but I overcomplicated that exact sort of structure that I was just talking about with tags, overcomplicated it. And I've just, that site has always struggled to rank organically. And like I said, more recently, I started playing around with flattening sites out and making them as simple as possible. And I've seen significant improvements on that, because you can get really, really, really specific as how internal link juice flows when you do it with a much simpler site. And so again, like I talked about this in the mastermind, I've got a project that I started about almost 2 years ago now, that I had overcomplicated the tag silo build on. It was testing something, and it never panned out. I hoped it would work, but it never really panned out. So I'm going to restructure that back to a much simpler format. And I expect to see significant improvements from that site, like I did with one of the other projects that wasn't as complicated as this one. But again, I flattened it out. So to answer your question, no, it's not the same, because tag page, you could essentially still redirect tag archive pages to specific things, but I don't know why you would do that. The tag pages themselves can become significantly like powerful link building targets. When I say link building targets, I mean use your SEO shield, your tier 1 entity assets to link build to those, potentially tag pages. But then you could always link build to those tier 1 assets that are linking to that page, and you can really power up. And again, I always use tags as location silos, and I kept the traditional category structure for service categories, which would be topical categories, in other words. So I don't know if that was as clear as mud or what, but hopefully that made some sense.